live.
Okay.
Hi, everybody. Good evening. It is January 3rd, just after 7 p.m. Welcome to the Education, Elections, and Housing Committee meeting of the Montgomery County Delegation. We are doing a work session this evening to examine several of the bills that have been referred to our committee and have been heard before the full delegation just last month. So we're hoping to get through as many of these as we can so that we can launch into our session with as clean of a plate as we're able. You all have received, and the agenda was posted publicly. And then you've received a link from Rebecca, our delegation aide, with the link for the Google Drive where all of the bill materials are stored. So we will begin with MC 1322, Montgomery County Voting Methods by Delegate Polakovich Carr. This is our bill on ranked choice voting. So I will turn it to our bill sponsor, who will share with us, I think, an amendment that is up for consideration.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, right, this is the same bill that the delegation has passed the last few years unanimously to allow ranked choice and approval voting. There is a small sponsor amendment that is amongst the materials in Google Drive. That amendment is twofold. One, it removes Judge of the Orphans Court from the list of local offices that ranked choice or approval voting could be adopted for. And that's simply because that is not a position that is elected directly by the voters. It is a position that is filled by the circuit court judges. And second, it makes some minor changes to the wording just to clarify and really to make clear the intention of the bill, which is we're giving ultimate flexibility to the county council in terms of which offices they could adopt ranked choice or approval voting for. They could do one of the offices, they could do some of their choosing, they could do all of them, and just making that clearer. There was some conversation, I think, in this committee last year about what and versus or meant in that list of offices. We just wanted to be crystal clear that the flexibility is there for the county council in terms of what offices they could adopt this for. So that's the sponsor amendment that is before everyone this evening.
Great, thank you, Delegate Polakovich Carr. Does any members of the committee have any questions for the bill sponsor? Can I get a motion, please, on the amendment?
Move favorable.
Second.
And a second?
Second.
Okay, thank you. And I guess our committee counsel, will you please take a vote? Or we can, let's see, can we do like an affirmation or everybody raise their hands thing, or do you have to do a roll call?
For amendments, you can just do everyone raise their hands.
Okay, raise your hand, please, if you are in favor. Okay, that appears to be unanimous. Thank you. Can I get a motion, please, on the bill as amended?
Move favorable.
Second.
Great. And for the bill, then, does the council wish to call roll call, I guess?
Yes, sure. Delegate Queen, how do you vote?
4.
Delegate Polakovich Carr, how do you vote?
Yes.
Delegate Barvet, how do you vote?
Yes.
Vice Chair Stewart, how do you vote?
Yes.
And Chair Shetty, how do you vote?
Yes.
Passes unanimously.
Thank you very much. All right, so that ends consideration of our first bill this evening. So we will now move to MC 522, Montgomery County Board of Education Student Members Scholarship, requested by Delegate Luedtke. He is here this evening. Do any members of the committee have any questions of our bill sponsor, or does the sponsor have any amendments to share with us? Oh, okay. Any questions from members of the committee to the bill sponsor? Great. Okay. Council, would you please call roll? Oh, actually, excuse me. Do I have a motion for consideration? Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Council?
Sure. Delegate Queen, how do you vote?
Sorry, I don't believe I heard that one. I don't know if it came through.
I didn't hear it either. Sorry.
I think you're muted.
Sorry. Do you want to do a thumbs up or a thumbs down? We can't hear you. Perfect. Okay, thank you.
Can you hear me now, though? I'm sorry.
Yes, yes. Yes.
Now we
Now we
can.
can.
Thank you. Thank you, Delegate Queen.
Delegate Plavkovich Carr, how do you vote?
Yes.
Delegate Barve, how do you vote?
Yes.
Vice Chair Stewart, how do you vote?
Yes.
And Chair Shetty, how do you vote?
Yes.
Passes unanimously.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Delegate Lutke, for joining us this evening. Have a good
Thank
evening.
you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. All right, we are now on to our third bill this evening, which is Delegate Moon's bill, MC 422, Montgomery County Board of Education election of members. Delegate Moon is unable to join us this evening, and so his Chief of Staff, Janine Johnson, has joined to answer any questions on his behalf. Thank you, Janine, for doing so. So I understand that there is a sponsor amendment that has been included in the Google folder. Do you want to speak to what the amendment does, please?
Certainly. The sponsor amendment simply changes the date, the effective date from July 1st, 2020 to January 1st, 2023, which puts it after the general election and before the start of the filing date, which then will make it apply to the 2024 election.
Okay, great. And that was a date that was the Board of Elections provided the opportunity to give feedback on that date?
Yes, we unfortunately have not been able to hear from the State Board of Elections. The person was on vacation, so we haven't been able to do that, but we did hear from Montgomery County, and they haven't weighed in on it, but they gave input to pick that date, that it was better to have it in between those dates.
Okay.
So that, yeah, sorry.
No, please go ahead. I'm sorry.
Just so that it wasn't, we took what was said in the last meeting, and so it doesn't push it where everything has to be done very quickly, and also doesn't come in the middle of election.
Great, thank you. And just a reminder to colleagues that this bill is the bill that changes the way that our current Board of Education members are voted on. They are currently voted on at large, and this would make it such that each district member would be voted on by people who live within the district boundaries, within the map that we just passed during special session. Do any members of the committee have any questions about either the amendment or the bill to Delegate Moon's Chief of Staff? Yes, Delegate Queen.
Just one more question for clarification. So so we'll vote for the in-district ones, but there still are Board of Election folks that are at large. They'll stay the same, right?
Board of Education at large members. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Great question.
Okay.
Yes. Any further questions from any members of the committee? Do we have a motion for consideration of the amendment that pushes out the effective date?
Move favorable on the amendment.
Thank you, Delegate Plavkovich Carr. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Vice Chair Stewart. So on the amendment, can I please get a show of hands? All in favor, please raise your hands. Okay, that appears to pass unanimously. Thank you. And moving to the bill as amended, do I hear a motion on the bill as amended?
Move favorable.
Thank you, Chair Barve.
Second.
Thank you, Vice Chair Stewart. Council, can you please call roll?
Sure. Delegate Queen, how do you vote?
Yes.
Delegate Plavkovich Carr, how do you vote?
Yes.
Delegate Barve, how do you vote?
Yes.
Vice Chair Stewart, how do you vote?
Yes.
And Chair Shetty, how do you vote?
Yes.
Passes unanimously.
Thank you, Council. Okay, so that concludes consideration of Delegate Moon's bill. Thank you, Janine, again for joining us this evening. So now we will move to consideration of MC 1622, Montgomery County Board of Education membership requested by Vice Chair Stewart. And I will turn the floor to Vice Chair Stewart to share any recap of the bill or any amendments that he'd like to propose.
Sure. So no amendments. So this bill, for everyone's recollection, is pretty simple. It adds one additional school board member to the board. So as people will probably recall, we currently have 5 district members that, of course, would be elected in district if the bill that we just voted on ultimately makes it to the General Assembly. So we have 5 in district members, we have 2 at-large members, and then we have a student member for a total of 8 voting members of the school board on most issues. The student member on a few issues doesn't have voting power. And so I've introduced this bill as sort of a companion to Delegate Moon's bill that we just voted on to basically add an additional at-large member. This member would not actually be up for election until 2024. They would be on that calendar because the at-large positions are basically, they go in, waves, whatever the word is. And so we don't need an effective date amendment for it. But basically the rationale is twofold. One, I think having another at-large voice would counterbalance any negative effects from moving to an in-district system. And number 2, and perhaps more importantly, I think it's important that we add a member to get to an odd number of 9, because with in-district voting will come more dissension among the school board because they are going to be beholden to different interest groups for the first time, different electorates. And so I think we'll have more split votes and we'll have more disagreement, which is not a bad thing. But I do think it's important that we have an odd number so that we don't have a lot of results that end in ties. So yeah, with that, that's all I got.
Okay, thank you, Vice Chair Stewart. Do any members of the committee have any questions for the Vice Chair?
I do.
Delegate Queen?
Delegate Stewart, was there any consideration of the comment I made at the hearing about 2 student members?
Yeah,
male and female?
I personally think it's a great idea, Delegate Queen. I mean, I'm a big advocate for the student members. I was happy that Delegate Lutke put in the bill that we all just voted for to up their compensation. I think that we've seen basically student members be a shining star and a shining light on the board for as long as we can possibly remember. I mean, it's just like all-star after all-star. So I would be open to it. However, the folks that I've talked to say that it may pose a problem with one person, one vote, because if you split it in some sort of situation, either based on geography or based on gender, it basically you get into multiple problems. So for a gender position, then you could get into a problem with one person, one vote. If you split it based on geography, then you have a hard time because you have to divide the clusters into equal numbers, and then it gets really tricky. And so a few people I've talked to have said that it poses potential problems. And so that's why I have not put in a student member amendment. Now that said, Delegate Queen, if we do vote the bill out today and it makes it to the full delegation and, that amendment is presented, I would not at all consider it unfriendly. I mean, I'm relatively agnostic on the two. If we can get any potential legal difficulties or any legal hurdles put out of the way, I think student members are obviously very valuable additions. But for right now, it's just an additional at-large member in the bill.
Thank you, Vice Chair Stewart. Do any other members of the committee have any questions for the bill sponsor? I have one, if you don't mind. Can you explain one more time, please, Vice Chair, why there is no similar effective date change required as we had for Delegate Moon's bill?
Yes. So at-large, the at-large seats on the Montgomery County Board of Education are either elected in presidential years or in gubernatorial years. And right now we have 2 of them. We have 2 at-large positions, and I'm creating a 3rd. And so the way that I've put it in the bill already is that 1 member will be elected in gubernatorial years, which will be the one on the ballot this year, and then an additional 1 will be added to presidential years. So in other words, the first time this will ever become an issue, the first time we will elect that 2nd at-large member would be the 2024 election. So we don't have to change the effective date because already within the bill, this person is not going to be on the ballot this year.
Great. Okay, that's very helpful. Thank you. Okay, any further questions of the bill sponsor? Okay, do we have a motion for consideration of the bill?
Move favorable.
Thank you. Any second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Delegate Barve. Okay, Council, would you please call a roll? I think you are on mute, sir.
Sorry about that. Delegate Queen, how do you vote?
4,
Delegate Collison, how do you vote?
Yes.
Delegate Plavkovich Carr, how do you vote?
Yes.
Delegate Barvet, how do you vote?
Yes.
Vice Chair Stewart, how do you vote?
Yes.
And Chair Shetty, how do you vote?
Yes.
Passes unanimously.
Thank you so much. Okay, that concludes our final bill on the agenda this evening. Congratulations, EEH members. We are now moving all of our bills unanimously and clean to the full delegation for consideration when the chair puts them on the agenda. We have, I think at this time, just one bill remaining in our jurisdiction. The bill sponsor is working on some amendments. We'll keep you posted when those are available, and a subsequent work session will be scheduled for that discussion. Thank you all so much. I really appreciate your time this evening, and we will see you soon. Have a wonderful evening.
New Year.